Okay, be honest with me. So if you were starting a brand new cut flower garden and you only had around like $100, maybe a $200 budget max, and you couldn't get seeds from anywhere, so like no person with a nice perennial garden, no free seeds at the library, like none of that. You just had to start from scratch. Could you do it? Hey, I'm Kristen with Shifting Roots, and I help gardeners in cold climates grow vegetables and flowers with ease. Today, we are talking about how to grow a cut flower garden on the cheap, but you don't maybe have any people that you can get free stuff from. So this is a sponsored post today with West Coast Seeds. I'm a brand ambassador for them this year, and they have graciously donated these seeds so I can create this content for you. One of the most confusing parts of when you get into cut flower gardening is that there's so many flowers and they all have different bloom times, and it's really complicated to try and put together a cut flower garden that always has something blooming. Because when you're a beginner, what often happens is you plant sort of just like what you want, and then you end up with most of your flowers blooming like for 3 weeks, and you don't have stuff throughout the summer, which is what we really want. Or you might have like all the hero flowers. So, you just plant a bunch of sunflowers, and maybe you plant some zinnias, stuff like that. But then you're wondering when you're making bouquets why they're not really looking very good. So I basically did all of the hard work for you, and I came up with a plan that has your greens, your spikes, some hero flowers, some fillers, and some supporting flowers. So basically everything that you need to have beautiful bouquets. We have the early bloomers, we have the midsummer bloomers, we have the late bloomers. So using this approximately $100 plan, you should be able to have a really beautiful, flourishing cut flower garden. I'm also going to talk a little bit later about how if you have a little bit more of a budget, what you can add on that will further increase your flowers, and that's also really affordable. All right, so grab your garden planner, grab your computer, head over to westcoastseeds.com, and let's figure out what you're supposed to order. So first, we're going to discuss the greens and the filler, because the biggest mistake new cut flower farmers, or even just people who are growing casually, make is that they buy lots of hero flowers, grow all those things, but they have nothing to put it with, and it looks kind of awkward. So the first thing I bought was actually a grass. And so this is cloud grass. This is just gonna add a little nice airy type of look into your bouquets and just fill in beautifully wherever. Parsley is great for later in the season. You pretty much can't have a cut flower garden without basil. So add some basil right now. Peppermint is another standard. Just watch when you plant this one. It can become invasive. So if you're worried about that, maybe plant it in a container. And finally, my favorite green is actually a flower. And so it's these double click cosmos. And I like these ones better than the Sonata series because they have just prettier, froofier greenery. So even though the seeds are a little bit more expensive, and I had to make a couple of those calls when I was trying to keep the seed budget under $100, these still made the cut, even though they're $3.69 in like the regular varieties, maybe closer to $2. All right, let's get into the filler flowers. So I really like white filler. So you're gonna see 3 white fillers in here. First is the Ami, also known as bishop's flower. This is just beautiful. It's cut and come again. Pretty much can't have a garden without yarrow. The nice thing about this white yarrow, some people almost consider it a weed, but it keeps blooming throughout the season and it's pretty hardy. So this is a yes for me. Gypsophilia, otherwise known as baby breath. This is really popular right now. And just be careful that you don't buy perennial baby's breath. Those of us in Saskatchewan and Alberta, this is actually considered a noxious weed if it's the perennial variety. So do only get the annual variety, please. Status is one of my favorites. This is really long lasting. Now, the only thing is I hope there's not a bunch of those highlighter yellow status in here. If you want to hear my rant against highlighter yellow, you can check out this video and I'll also give you a couple of my favorite cut flowers. Forget-me-nots are new to me, but I'm very excited about these. These should be earlier season flowers. And if I have any tulips that come come up, these are going to be fantastic with them. And then finally, trying out some of this swamp milkweed. It's so pretty, nice to have a filler that's just a pretty delicate pink. This is going to look good with lots of stuff. If you have any peonies that happen to be in your yard, this will be very pretty to pair with them. Next, let's get into our spikes. So only 2 spikes here. Unfortunately, the varieties of snapdragons that West Coast Seeds has, they're not the type that's nice and tall that we want for cut flowers, so I couldn't order those, but they did have Amaranth and at very reasonable prices. So this is the Burgundy grain Amaranth. This is a beautiful red, and for any fall bouquets, you're really gonna love this one. And then if you have a spike Amaranth, you definitely need a drooping one, so we grabbed these green tails. Now, one thing if you're putting in your West Coast Seeds order is that this is not under flowers, this is under the vegetable section. Also under the vegetable section, pumpkins. So why am I getting pumpkins in my cut flower garden? I really like doing a pumpkin sale in my cut flower business. And even if you're not selling, you're just growing for yourself, really nice to have these as fall arrangements. And you can use your pumpkins, of course, for eating or whatever else. So if you want to know more about making pumpkin arrangements and my sales of those, you can check out this video right there. So just a little aside, if you're finding this like talking about every single seed I'm growing and why I'm growing it talk really interesting, this is one of the extras that I provide for my students in my backyard business course. If you're a new flower farmer thinking about being a flower farmer, maybe something to check out. I'll put the link in the description for you. Back to the flowers and the seeds. So now we're gonna do our supporting flowers. These are like the fun flowers. So first up, some Scabio. So this is cut and come again. Only have to plant it once, and it's a little bit frost hardy. So even after the first frost, if it's not too hard, you might still have a few of these hanging out in your garden. Next is Nigella. This one I love because it's an earlier bloomer, plus the seed pods look really great. So you can use them later in the year too, or for any dried arrangements. Cornflower is basically a classic, has to be it. Clarkia, or Farewell to Spring, or Go to Tia, however you pronounce it. This is a new flower to me. I grew it last year for the first time, and it bloomed the same time as my peonies. And it was so pretty and a really nice supporting flower when a lot of stuff isn't ready yet. Straw flower, one of my favorite flowers ever. It's such a workhorse in the garden. It's good for drying. It lasts like forever. Is cut and come again. You need some straw flower in your life. And finally, Calendula. Now, I gotta admit, I made a little bit of a mistake when I included this one in my $100 thing. I wasn't looking at the stem length. I just saw this one. I was like, oh, this is similar to one that I know and grow. So this one is a little bit short. So maybe get a different Calendula than I have, but oh well, they have some beautiful other varieties, and Calendula is such a good flower to have in the garden for so many reasons. Okay, so let's talk about the flowers that I know you're all waiting for. These are the hero flowers. Now, I've divided my hero flowers up into sort of 2 categories. So the first one is sunflowers, because these are really the stars of the show. Now the second one, I have Zinnias, Asters, and Rudbeckia. So these can be hero flowers in a bouquet, but if you pair them with sunflowers, the sunflowers kind of take over, and then these guys become more of a supporting role. So let's talk through them. So first of all, we have the Queen Lime Zinnia. I love Queen Lime Zinnias. They are so gorgeous. They just pull a bouquet together. If you can find others in the Queen Lime series, I would also grab them as well. West Coast, if you're listening, if you can get the other colors, please and thank you. Next is the China Aster. China Asters are so gorgeous. I know when we think of asters, we think these are maybe kind of boring flowers, like nobody's favorite flower is an aster. But when you see them in real life, they are so pretty, and they're such dependable flowers, good stems, last for a long time. Like this, it's really a keeper. And then Rudbeckia. Rudbeckia is such a staple in the cut flower garden, and this cappuccino is such a gorgeous, rich color for the more fall. And again, this will last a little bit past the frost. All right, the sunflowers. So I've picked 3 varieties of sunflowers. Now, these sunrich types, these kind of blew my budget a little bit because they were $5.19 each. But these are the kind that flower farmers use, that florists use. These are the pollenless ones, so they're not going to be dripping stuff in your bouquets. But you only get 1 flower per stem, so that's kind of the trade-off. Then this is also a sunrich, but it just has the lighter center. So I love the Velvet Queen because it's a little bit of a different color. It's more towards the orange. Just looks a little bit different from the typical yellow sunflower. Plus, this is a branching variety, so you're going to get way more blooms. However, the trade-off is that there's going to be pollen that drips from them, but I mean, the bees like the pollen, so you know, you gotta pick. Okay, so what happens if you have a little bit more of a budget? Let's say you can afford to have $200. So in that case, we can get some ranunculus, we can get some dahlias, and maybe if we can get some lilies. So let's go to the website and see what they have available. All right, so I'm on the website here. Let's go to shop. And then for the stuff that we want, we're gonna go to plant stock, flower bulbs, spring planting. So, okay, we could also get some anemones here. These ones are a little pricey, but honestly, these are pricey everywhere. The thing though is the dahlia prices are just, this is unheard of right now. Dahlias are so expensive. So to be able to get something like a labyrinth dahlia for $6.99, that is a steal of a deal. Otto's Thrill is another really popular one. Wizard of Oz is one of my favorites. If I didn't already have quite a few Wizard of Oz, I would definitely be grabbing some more. I also grabbed this giant gladiolus mix. Now, my customers aren't the craziest about glads, but I still like them and I think they can look nice in arrangements, so we will figure it out. Some of these lilies are just gorgeous, like the Elodie lily, that is so pretty. This Rainbow Silence is nice too. So I already have a lot of peonies, so I don't need to invest in peonies this year, but that's another good place for your extra money to go to if you have any to work with. I did get some of these anemones that kind of look like peonies. I'm very curious about them. I did not get this dahlia, I don't know how to pronounce it, Tsukiyori maybe. I don't normally like cactus dahlias, but this is really cool. And again, a very good price. Let's see, more gorgeous dahlias. Oh, I think I got this lily as well. This is a nice peach lily, and I thought this would be a really on-trend color for different brides this year. If you've stayed with me this long into the video, thank you so much. I've made everything as easy as possible for you. If you go down into the comments, you can actually download this whole list. It's like a little checklist. I've also made a garden plan for you, so you don't even have to think about the spacing or anything. You just buy these seeds, start them at the correct times, and then you can plant them in the spring. So the other cool thing about this project is that you're actually going to watch me grow this garden over the season. I'll have a special spot for it in my yard. I'll put all my West Coast plants in one place so you can see exactly what kind of bouquets you can get from this. And then maybe even if you don't grow along with me this year, you'll be able to order all of this stuff next year from West Coast Seeds and have your own beautiful cut flower garden. All right, friends, hope you found that helpful. Thank you again to West Coast Seeds for sponsoring this video and having me as part of the brand ambassador program this year. We will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit later, if you have a bit more of a budget, what I would add to, and so it's these double click, oh, sorry. This is Velvet Queen. Let me just